Hey, welcome to the read of June 2026, y'all. My name is Lynette, and I'm reading in the For the Love of Relationships, y'all. And this one here, this is another good one. So I'll give you these articles to read in the Love Exquisite Magazine, which if you follow me on Instagram at Love Exquisite LLC, you get access to the full magazine when you click the link in my profile. I'm reading the article titled Longing for Intimacy. Ooh, how many of y'all in relationships or in situationships still long for intimacy? How many of y'all? Well, let's talk about it. Want to hear about it? Here you go. Y'all know I'm silly. But anyway, here we go. And Mom, I know with the clapping, I can't help it. When I'm excited, I clap, okay? All right, so anyway, longing for intimacy. This one's not for children. Intimacy is one of the most essential foundations of a healthy and lasting relationship. While many people associate intimacy only with physical affection, true intimacy goes far beyond physical connection. It is the emotional closeness, the chemistry, the trust, the vulnerability, communication, and deeper shared understanding between two people. Intimacy is what allows couples to feel safe with one another, creating a bond that deepens over time and strengthens the relationship during both joyful times and difficult moments. Without intimacy, relationships can begin to feel distant, empty, and disconnected, even if the love still is present. If your mate is longing for intimacy, if your mate is longing for intimacy, it is because the relationship is lacking in that area. And you might not think it or is, I'm sorry, you might not think it is because you think, yeah, I do this, I'm putting it down and whatever the situation might be. But boo, I got news for you. If your mate is longing for intimacy, it's something that's lacking. And that is something that's lacking in the relationship. Everybody doesn't like the same things in the same way. So maybe you need to communicate with your mate. How often would you like it? How would you like it? And am I doing it well enough to the manner that you like it? Some people do fake orgasms. So just because you might hear the oohs and ahs don't mean they might just be trying to boost your ego or trying to add some excitement to the moment or the experience to turn themselves on. So you never know. So you got to have that open and honest conversation. If your mate is longing for intimacy, it's lacking in your relationship. Anything you long for, it is because of the absence of that thing, whatever that thing is that you're longing for. So at the core of intimacy is emotional connection. Emotional connection develops when two people are able to openly share their thoughts, their fears, their dreams, their insecurities, and their feelings without the fear of judgment. It requires being honest and being vulnerable, which can be difficult for many people. Some people they don't want to be honest because they don't want to tell the truth about, well, you're really not hitting it the way you think you are. Or, it feels good, but I would like this. Or I don't like doing the standard all the time. Y'all know, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you ones that are longing, you gotta be able to communicate with your mate what it is that you're longing for. And then mates, you have to be receptive and knowing that it's not that I'm telling you you're doing something wrong. I'm just telling you maybe I need something different. You know what I mean? I need you to do something different, So that part. Y'all gotta communicate because it's the only way you're gonna know, and y'all gotta be honest when you're communicating. So when couples create a safe space where both individuals feel heard and understood, the relationships become stronger. Emotional intimacy allows partners to support one another through hardships, celebrate successes together, and build trust over time. This all is intimate part of the relationship. It's not just physical, not just about sex, it's emotional as well. So it creates a sense of comfort and belonging that cannot easily be replaced. That's important. So when you have that intimate relationship, you can't get that from everywhere, from everyone. So if you have a bond, if you can create a bond through intimacy, not just physical, again, emotional, mental, spiritually, physically, mentally, all of that, it's a bond that's hard to be replaced. Everybody doesn't gel and connect with you on all levels, on especially all of those levels. So if you have that in your relationship, that's a good thing. And if there's lack in any of those areas, communicate what your needs are. So a person who feels emotionally connected to their partner is more likely to feel valued, respected, and secure within their relationship. So oftentimes people say, "Oh, you insecure," or "You're this, you're not, you insecure," or you're not sure about us. There's something lacking that is creating those emotions, that is creating those feelings. It's something that the mate is not doing to make them feel secure, to make them feel valued, to make them feel like they're the chosen one. You know what I mean? So you gotta work through that, and be honest and open with how your mate's making you feel. And then when you hear that, you have to be willing to be proactive in doing something about it. If you want your mates to be happy, if you care about your mate's happiness, it's not just about your own, then you have to be willing to listen and hear them out and do what needs to be done for them to feel better. You know what I mean? So if you cannot communicate with your partner through all types of challenges, those good conversations and the tough ones, because you're afraid of what they might say or how they gonna react or what the outcome is, then the relationship is lacking that emotional intimacy. If you can't communicate with them, it's lacking that emotional intimacy, because communication plays a major role in maintaining intimacy. You have to be able to communicate. Healthy communication is not simply talking every day. It involves active listening, understanding one another's emotions, and responding with compassion, even if you don't like what's being communicated. So sometimes you're not going to like what your mate has to say, but that don't mean shut them down. That don't mean, I don't feel like talking about this, or, oh, no, let's not go there, or whatever. It's like, no, let's go there so that we can move past this, so that we can get past this. If we never go there, then the problem still occurs. We're just trying to sweep it under the rug until the problem begins again. And now we're exploding because we never resolved it the first time. So intimacy, got to have those conversations, and don't be afraid to have them. So many relationships struggle not because the love disappears, but because the communication stops. When couples stop expressing themselves honestly, misunderstandings and oftentimes false assumptions begin to creep in. So if we're not communicating, then we're misunderstanding each other. If we're not communicating, then I'm assuming one thing, you're assuming another thing. Most of the time, we both assuming the wrong thing. So let's not assume. Let's communicate. You know what I mean? So resentment, frustration, and emotional distance can slowly begin to creep in and replace the closeness when you don't have that emotional intimacy through your communication. Intimacy thrives when couples make time to communicate openly about their needs, their concerns, and their feelings. Now, I'm not talking about every single time something happened or something don't go the way you hope they went, to start, nitpicking and this, that. I'm talking about major things that are impacting your health, your mental state of mind, your well-being, your happiness, things that contribute to those things that are important enough to talk about. You need to talk about them. So even the small conversations can strengthen a relationship when they are meaningful and sincere. Being emotionally available and willing to listen can often make a person feel loved, valued, and heard. So don't shut them down again. Then that's that emotional intimacy. So aside from emotional intimacy, there's also physical intimacy. And that's another aspect of relationships. But it should be understood that sexual interaction and sexual intercourse is not enough to build intimacy. You also have to have that emotional connection. Physical intimacy is another important aspect, I should say, of relationships, but it should be understood as more than just that. It's more than just a sexual encounter, a sexual interaction. Physical touch is important. Foreplay is important. Sometimes you just want to get straight to the point, but sometimes you want to take it slow, strumming my pain with his fingers. Sometimes you want to take it slow, that foreplay. Sometimes that's what your mate needs to be aroused, to get in the mood, especially if they had a bad day or they have something on their mind. They might not just be ready to just jump right in. You might be ready, but it might take your mate a little bit more schmoozing and, put some soft music or massage or whatever it is that creates that moment. Physical touch, hugging, kissing, holding hands, cuddling, a loving gesture, or simple acts of closeness, they all contribute to intimacy and that emotional bonding that takes place on a physical aspect. Physical intimacy can communicate love. It can communicate reassurance, comfort, and desire without words. Whew. If you ever had it, you know, you know. Anyway, if you ever had it, y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm going to say that again because that was a whole word. Physical intimacy can communicate love, reassurance, comfort, and desire without words. Child. It helps. It's getting hot in here. It's like, no. It helps couples maintain a connection that feels warm and personal. Yes, it is extremely important to note that in most relationships, physical intimacy serves as a reminder that both partners are still emotionally invested in one another. When physical affection disappears completely, it can sometimes create feelings of rejection, unwantedness, or loneliness and insecurity. So when you're not when you're not physically affectionate, and then you wonder why your mate is so insecure about your relationship, or they don't feel loved, or they don't feel wanted, or they don't feel attractive anymore, it's because they miss that physical intimacy. So these things are important. Don't just blame them. Ask yourself, what is the reason that is causing their behavior, their thoughts? What is the reason behind it? Because there's always a reason. This could make some people seek what they are longing for outside of the relationship, when they feel unloved, when they feel unattractive, when they feel undesirable because of how you are making them lack in that area of intimacy. So you don't want them to stray. So you may want to pay a little bit more attention to what's going on in your relationships. However, healthy physical intimacy should always be built on mutual respect, trust, and emotional connection rather than out of obligation. So don't feel like, well, it's a chore. I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this. Don't feel like it's a chore, because that takes the intimacy out of it. It takes the excitement and enjoyment out of an experience that's supposed to be so wonderful. Don't feel like it's a chore. Like, all right, I'm going to give you some at 5 o'clock. Like, no, come on now. Don't do that. You got to want it. And you got to make your mate feel like you want them, him or her. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that you are building that intimacy, that physical connection, that mutual respect, that trust, that emotional connection, and that it's not done out of obligation. Trust is deeply connected to intimacy because people cannot truly open themselves up without feeling emotionally safe. When trust is broken through dishonesty, betrayal, cheating, or the lack of consistency, intimacy often suffers as a result. So you may notice they might say, what you doing? What you think you putting that? No, I don't want to kiss you, because now they feel like I can't trust you. Now, you dirty to me. You know what I mean? So you don't want to give your mate those feelings. You always want to make your mate feel loved, wanted, deserved, desirable, needed, attractive by giving them your acts of affection, your acts of physical intimacy, your acts of emotional intimacy. You want to make that genuine effort, both of you, collectively. So trust also allows couples to be vulnerable without constantly fearing disappointment or abandonment. Intimacy is also important because it helps couples navigate those challenges together. Every relationship experiences obstacles, disagreements, stress, and periods of difficulty. Financial struggles, work pressure, family life, family issues, personal challenges, personal hardships can place a strain on even the strongest couples. Intimacy acts as a source of stability during those trying times. When two people feel emotionally connected, they are more likely to work as a team rather than working against each other. They become more willing to compromise, more willing to communicate, and more willing to support each other through difficult times. Now, intimacy alone is not a quick fix. It doesn't fix everything, because some people think, oh, I'm just going to put it on her and she going to love me again, or she going to do this, or yeah, I'm just going to throw it on and I'm just going to do what I do, whatever, and he going to be in the palm of my hand. It don't work like that. It doesn't. It might be a temporary thing that you think is fixing something, but the problem still exists. But when you have that emotional connection and that physical connection, you can communicate and navigate through those things more easily than you could if you didn't have those things in place. So good intimacy can help promote resilience within the relationship, because ain't nobody staying with somebody who, they're not intimately connected with emotionally or physically. They're not. And if they are, you got to wonder what they doing behind the scenes. Because everybody needs emotional connection. Everybody needs intimacy in some way, shape, or form, however you define it. Another important aspect of intimacy is the feeling of acceptance that it creates. It feels like you accept me, you value me, you love me, you want me, you need me. It in a deeply intimate relationship, individuals feel comfortable being themselves without constantly worrying about criticism or rejection. They can express their emotions honestly, share their imperfections, and reveal their true personality. So, have you ever had pillow talk with your mate? Have you ever been in an intimate setting and then you're laying there, or before the intimacy occurred? That is an intimate setting anyway. Pillow talk is intimacy to me. A true deep intimate conversation usually occurs after intimacy or before, because the emotional freedom or openness and the feelings of that you are in a safe space that occurs by being intimate with one another. This level of intimacy, it is acceptance. It builds confidence and emotional security. It makes you look at your mate in a different light. Like you might be looking at each other in each other's eyes. Like I love that we can share this moment together, and with or without sex. You know what I mean? That we're still enjoying each other's company with or without the intimacy. We can communicate with other. We can laugh. We can cry. We can talk. It's a beautiful thing to have in your relationship. So everyone wants to feel loved for who they truly are rather than who they pretend to be. A lack of intimacy can slowly damage the relationship over time. So trust me, if you don't have intimacy, if your mate is longing for intimacy, you want to get on that very quickly if you do not want to lose them, because eventually you will. So listen, a lack of intimacy can slowly damage a relationship over time. So don't ever have your mate longing for intimacy with you. Longing for intimacy will create distance between the two of you, and that distance can grow further and further apart when partners stop spending quality time together, when they avoid honest communication, or they fail to nurture their emotional bond. And in some cases, people again tend to seek emotional fulfillment elsewhere because the intimacy within their relationship has faded. This is why maintaining intimacy requires consistent effort. Not just a one-time deal, one-shot deal. It requires consistent effort. So if your schedules are busy because you work day shift, she work night shift, and y'all pay two passing shifts in the night, or you work long hours, and by the time you get home, or she worked long hours, by the time she get home you're tired, or family obligations because you're caring for the children, you're neglecting each other because you're so focused on caring for the children, or you're doing so many different chores, you're running here, running there, you're taking care of a loved one, and you might not think that intimacy still matters. It does. You got to make time for it, even if you have to schedule it. It might sound crazy, or it might sound like, oh, it's another task that I have to do and I just don't feel like it. Well, you got to make time for it because it's important. It truly is important. And it should not be a chore. You should not feel like it's a chore. You should want it. If you want your mate, you should want the intimacy with your mate. Relationships cannot survive on love alone. Love is not enough. I don't care what nobody says or how many people try to say it is. It is not enough. Relationships also require attention. It requires your presence in your mate's life. It requires an intentional connection. It requires intimacy. And that intimacy must be nurtured continuously throughout the relationship, through communication, through love, acts of kindness, through affection, through trust, and quality time. You have to put that time in. You have to schedule time for intimacy. I don't care how busy your schedule is. You got to put it in there. You fit in everything else. You're fitting in everything else. Your schedule wouldn't be busy if it wasn't for you fitting in everything else. So you got to fit that in too. It's important. This is why it is important for couples to prioritize one another despite their life's demands, because you don't want to lose them. You don't. Relationships with strong intimacy often bring emotional peace because people feel, again, loved, valued, and supported. So ultimately, intimacy is what transforms a relationship from a simple connection into a meaningful partnership. Woo. It is the invisible bond that keeps two people emotionally connected, especially during difficult times. Love may bring people together initially, but intimacy, that deep connection, intimacy is what sustains the relationship over time. And again, not just in the physical aspect, but in the emotional aspect as well. Without intimacy, relationships may struggle to survive emotionally because your mate will long for it. If you are human, you have those human needs. You need to have that connection, that intimate connection. And again, I can't reiterate enough, it's not just about sex. It's not just about the physical. It's about the emotional as well. The reward of intimacy is a deeper connection that allows both individuals to feel loved and desired and complete. So don't have your mate longing for intimacy. Don't have your mate longing for intimacy. You need to get off of here because you made time to watch this video throughout its entirety. Okay, Mr. Busy, Miss Busy, I don't have time. You need to make the same time you made to sit down and watch this. You need to go on here, go on in, go on and get yourself some emotional intimacy and physical intimacy with your mate right now. Not now, but right now.